Good afternoon. I think really a lot of people got tired. In the previous show, it was very serious stuff and long stuff. But really, I tell you, this movie, Tokyo Story, it deals with a bit of seriousness, but in a very, very different way, in a way that you can really be with the characters yourself, join the family about whom this story is being told, and identify with the family. So I think during all these 2 hours, you will feel very transported yourself to this family. And such an old movie, but it has that power to do that. Generally, when I introduce a movie, I prefer to talk of the director first, but because movies are director's medium. I also prefer to talk about historical stuff, the period it represents, and things related to that period. Then, of course, we talk about the movie itself, thematically, and its craftsmanship, technically, and, of course, the rest of thematic stuff. So to start with, of course, this movie was made in something like 1951, just post-Second War period, when countries like Japan and West Germany was struggling, and the society was struggling because their pride was very heavily dented, and they wanted to get back, get going as a family, as a society, and they were ready to pay any price to get moving and moving fast, to get all what they lost during the wartime. So a lot of characters, the way they act, the way they react was definitely influenced by those reasons. Talking of Ozu, generally in India or even rest of the world, Kurosawa represented Japan when it came to movies. But within Japan, I can tell you that Ozu, the director of this movie, is and was much, much more respected, because they thought Ozu represents Japan. Kurosawa doesn't purely represent Japan and our culture, our society, and he's influenced by Western movies of Hollywood and all that stuff. I may not agree with that, but that is how within Japan people saw to it. Ozu had a very interesting life, At school level, he was very bad in studies. He could not really qualify for the college exam. He could not even qualify for an entrance test which he gave to become a teacher. So became an ad hoc teacher in some schools that time. He searched for the opportunity to manifest his idea, deep interest in movies right from the childhood. And he used to walk miles to watch some of the movies from his house, miles together. Later on in Japan, the kind of national policy they have, he had to join army twice, in fact. And he was in infantry. He's an infantry soldier. During the Sino-Chinese War, they occupied China and Nanking area. He was there. He saw all that. He was a part of all that. Nanking, he was there for 2 years. And after coming back from there, then he was sent to, during the Second War time, around 43, he was sent to Singapore. In fact, in Singapore, he developed one interesting Indian connection. He was supposed to make a movie which meant that let's go to Delhi. Let's Go to Delhi was a propaganda movie which he wanted to make to help Subhash Chandra Bose carry on his warfare from that side. Is another thing that movie was not fully completed, and since Japan started losing the war, all the propaganda movies, whoever made, they wanted to throw it out deep into the sea. So why I'm telling all this about Ozu is knowing this kind of a background to make a movie like Tokyo Story, a totally family stuff, middle class, in a language, in a narrative, with so much of finesse, so much of poignancy. I will say this was a movie, poignancy refined and redefined. I mean, that is the level of poignancy he could achieve in this movie. This movie fortunately came immediately after Rashomon. Kurosawa's movie fortunately had international recognition. It got Golden Lion Award, and suddenly everybody took notice of Kurosawa, and not only Kurosawa, they thought, oh, Japanese make such movies, and therefore other directors also, were being noticed. And though initially, really Tokyo Story, when it was released, didn't make any international dent at all. It was appreciated within Japan. It was successful. Much later, in 60s, in fact, it was screened during one of special festivals in UK. And there, people could sit up and say, oh my God, what is this movie? And later on, it was shown in US. And in US, a place like US where, the family tear-jerkers don't really cut much ice, people walked out of the auditorium with tears. They really, so that is the, now you say that what was special about this movie? After all, it was a movie about middle class, struggling middle class, and this is kind of story on which thousands of movies have already been made. What makes it special? This movie is ranked #1 on any director's post. That is, Rotten Tomatoes is a rating which is out of all the big critics in the world. They poll for it, and it has 100% voting in its favor. #1 movie in the world. And even in the Sight and Sound ranking, which is the most credible rating for the movies, world movies, it is considered #3 movie for last almost 30 years continuously. It ranked from 2nd to 5th. Currently, it is #3 movie. So what makes this family drama so special? It is actually one of the reasons why it made difference was Ozu ensured that it is not a melodrama. It doesn't touch melodrama. And with a theme like that, where people within middle class, kids are not caring for the parents, and parents are suffering, those can be tearjerkers, melodramatic, every chance is there. But he ensured the subtlety, comedy, the script, everything which he did was to ensure that doesn't happen. That is one thing. Second thing is that his entire narrative was such, and when I am talking of narrative, it is also the cinematography, the sets, the dialogues, the entire, everything is such that they are able to draw you to their room. And the sets are such, these shots which he took, he never used moving cameras much. He used static cameras. And normally, if some of you, I think, are students in cinema, in Western side, we always use over-the-shoulder shots to make the close-ups more effective. But Ozu never did that. He took front camera, a static camera. He placed his cameras at 2 feet height from the floor. Maybe he started doing it because in Japan, people take food sitting on the chair. Also there, the furnishings are very low height. Maybe he started like that, but then he found advantages of that. He developed a technique out of that. Now, talking of the narrative in terms of subtlety, finesse, there, one of the techniques he used in narrative was that ellipse technique, we call it. That, let us say, if you are showing death, in one of the discussions within the movie between characters, they would just pass a line about that death and then move on. And such scenes where there could be a lot of melodrama, he passes very smoothly. using this effect, and he's able to cover a lot of portions of things for swift moment of the movie and to ensure that is not melodramatic. And I mean, paradoxically, most interesting part was that it was, in a way, very insular movie, but it became a very universal movie with which people in New York, Delhi, Tokyo, anywhere could identify. Let's test this today. Enjoy your movie. Thank you.